What's good? What's good? What's good? So, finished off the last video talking about my stepdad calling me a loser. For some reason, I'm not feeling this one gray hair. But I told myself when I started regrowing my beard that I wasn't going to pluck any grays. I got a couple of mustache everywhere else, but this one today is just like, hey. Anyway, but yeah. So last thing was stepdad calling me a loser. But he wasn't a total jackass, taught me chores and, just being respectful around adults or authority figures. So that was kindergarten through 8th grade. Check the other videos to give you a little background on how life was, in the other previous videos. So 8th grade, summer before my 9th grade, high school. So from kindergarten through middle school, dealt with this fool, and then my mother said enough is enough. And actually I just talked to my mother about this the other day. I said, what made you decide to leave? She said that I didn't want you and your brother to see how a woman was treated, which made sense because my stepdad, again, he was a jackass, and he didn't really show an example or a good example of what good to do. I learned what not to do and how not to interact, but he never showed the good or what you're really supposed to do. So my mom was like, yeah, y'all are not going to grow up thinking that this is how relationships are and how to treat women, so we out. It took her a while for her plan to come together, but she grinded, did what she had to do, stayed 10 toes down on her decision, and made it happen. So I don't know if I probably didn't mention this before. Yeah, all the grandkids, yeah, comfort sniffs. So all the grandkids would go to my grandma's during the summer. So I think this was something where my mom she may have sprung this on me and my brother late, maybe on the ride home, or maybe the week before we were coming home. She was like, y'all won't be coming back there anymore, or back to Springfield. We're going somewhere as we moved. And it was just a thing where it wasn't like I was sad, or it was sort of like relief. Like, okay, we're starting a new journey, because I knew that leaving him, my stepfather, was going to be less stress, and just a mom raising her boys. I knew it wasn't maybe going to be perfect because, the financial aspect that he provided, but again, my mom had figured it out, and she did what she had to do. So, leaving Newport News, making that trip, didn't quite get to Springfield, and ended in Prince William County, Manassas Park to be exact. So as we're riding through, we passed this one high school. I was like, hey mom, is that my house? She was like, no baby, that's not your high school. And I'm thinking, all right, well, the house is right here, or townhouse. I was like, well, we live right here, right across from the school. She's like, yeah, but I know it's not your school. Your school's down the street. So next week we went down to the school, and culture shock, being in Manassas Park. It was the situation where they had built a structure, and then the classrooms were kind of connected with trailers that just, you knock out the end wall and just connected the trailers, because when you walked or ran down the hallways, you could hear it and feel it. So that let me know those were trailers and not real solid structures, like built from the ground up. They were just placed there in a strategic E form, and you had your multi-purpose room and your gym and the hallway, and then your other outline classes. So that was a culture shock, seeing that this nice high school, which was Osborne Park, which I lived right across the street from because the border was right there. I ended up going to Manassas Park. So those years were not as stressful, going from high school to college, because hell, we didn't have the jackass in our household anymore. He wasn't in our lives. It's just, again, me and my brother and a mother raising her boys. No stress. The only stress that I dealt with was, being embarrassed of not having living room furniture. Because I remember one time after basketball practice, and my boys, hey, come on, let's go in the house. We want a snack, we want something to drink. I was like, nah, I ain't got none of that. I was embarrassed. I was like, nah, none of y'all can come in. And it was just a standoff at my front door. It was like 3 or 4 dudes from the team and wouldn't let them in. And then finally I came in and I said to myself, this is why. I was like, this is the reason why. I kind of said it to myself because I was embarrassed. No furniture. Told my mom, she was like, boy, don't be embarrassed about that. Some people ain't even got a house to live in. Some people ain't got this. Some people ain't got that. You know how hard I worked just for us to have this? Kind of that sentiment. I was like, okay. So one of the guys that was there, I apologized to him. I think it was the next day in practice, or maybe we had a Saturday practice, something before the season, trying to get us in shape. And this one particular dude looked at me like, man, screw you. He's like, man, I lived in Georgetown South. He's like, what do you know about on Christmas Day having all your gifts stolen? Because you and your mom, your sister, and your brother go to the new house that y'all are moving into, trying to get work done and clean it up. Meanwhile, in the Georgetown South house, got broke into, and all your shit gets stolen. So don't tell me about furniture when Christmas Day, your gifts get stolen. I was like, okay, all right. I'm among some real ones. It's not just like the ones that I, could have experienced in Newport News, but I'm among some real ones. I don't think those situations would have happened in Springfield or West Springfield. Shout out to the South Florida weather. It's about 70 degrees. Therefore, my lips are a little chapped. Got the hoodie on. Shout out to One Collective Goods. But yeah, just a mom raising her sons. No stress, no issues. Joined a new high school. Started to figure out who I was as a kid. I think that was I think the first time in high school, freshman year, I remember I was in the lunch line. And some girl was like, ooh, you cute. That was the first time some chick ever said you cute. I'm not saying that I wasn't, but just a different vibe coming from Springfield to Manassas Park. So not that I was feeling myself, but it gave me a little bit of confidence, like, okay, first time hearing that. Not to saying that I wasn't able to, or wasn't talking to girls when I was in middle school and elementary school. That wasn't the case at all. But to actually hear like, oh, you cute, like the first week there, it kind of gave me a little boost. I ain't gonna lie. But nothing serious. So yeah, it was just a different living experience coming from Springfield to Manassas Park. And it was more so of a economic situation where I saw, again, seeing from the high school that I thought I was going to go to and the high school that I ended up at, and just seeing the economic situation. Like the first thing that the teacher, or not teacher, but one of the admins of the school was like, oh, you guys move across the train tracks. No, we don't know anything about the train tracks. We just got to the area not even a month ago. Me, just last week, maybe last weekend. And my mom, she had been there trying to figure things out. So no, we didn't move across the train tracks. Across the train tracks at that time were the new development, new houses. Golf course wasn't built yet, but just new houses, new development. But now if you see that shit, wow. It doesn't even look like Manassas Park. But, that's just how development goes. Yeah, developed friends pretty quickly. And just got to know myself. For what I thought I knew myself. But still, I obviously had the issues stemming from my stepfather, not knowing it. But yeah, going from Springfield to Manassas Park was, again, culture shock, but it was BS and stress that we no longer had to deal with. It was a different kind of stress, again, because new friends, no furniture, but that was just me being in my own head, embarrassed about that. But, I quickly got over that, knowing that others had different struggles as well, if not worse than what I experienced. So it's like I had to realize that, hey, some people have it worse than what you do. And that's okay to experience those things. Life is what it is. As a kid, there's a lot of things you can't control. But as an adult, you still can't control them, but you may be able to deal with it better than as a child. Um, my mom, she worked hard. She didn't argue with us. She raised us the best she could. As I can't really say she was the father figure, but she just raised us as a strong mother. She didn't want us hanging out. We had chores. We had things to do. She was raising us. I wasn't out in the streets. Um, just there was structure. Even though it was two boys, growing boys, one in high school, one in elementary. It wasn't no time for no BS. And my mother wasn't raised that way, so she wasn't gonna let it slide just because she was on her own. So yeah, that was it. Mom and two boys, new area, um, new area to the point where the kids were not driving cars in high school better than the teachers. Because that's how it was in Springfield. Some of the kids were driving BMWs, Mercedes. Um, Teachers definitely didn't have that, or at least they didn't drive it to school. But that's just the kind of area that I was in, environment economically in Springfield. Um, just being able to see that, and then coming to Manassas Park again, culture shock. But not to say that people didn't have money, because again, school admin thought we lived across the train tracks. No, not necessarily, but we live in the area, going to school, just trying to figure things out. So more videos to come.